star traveler, before we begin tonight's journey through the universe, tell me, where in the world are you listening from right now? And what time is it there? Maybe it's already deep into the night, or perhaps you're just winding down after a long day. However your day went, I truly hope it brought you peace. And if not, I hope these stories can help ease your mind. Take a deep breath. Let it all go. There's nothing left to do now. Just listen. Just drift. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy this space to rest, reflect, and dream, your quiet support helps keep it alive. Now, let's begin.
What exists outside the edge of the universe? In the deepest quiet of night, when the world has settled into its ancient rhythm of rest, the mind often wanders to the vastest questions that have stirred human consciousness since the first eyes turned skyward. What lies beyond the furthest reaches of everything we know? What exists outside the edge of the universe itself? This question carries within it the weight of infinity and the lightness of mystery. It is a question that has no borders, no boundaries that the human mind can easily grasp, yet it calls to something profound within us. The same stirring that made our ancestors trace constellations in the darkness and wonder about their place in the cosmic tapestry. The universe, as science understands it today, is not a place with walls or edges in the way a room might be contained. It is something far more extraordinary and elusive. It is a realm where space and time themselves were born, where the very concepts of inside and outside begin to dissolve like morning mist. When we speak of what exists beyond the universe, we enter a realm where mathematics meets philosophy, where the measurable meets the ineffable. Tonight, as consciousness begins its gentle descent toward sleep, let these cosmic contemplations wash over the mind like waves on a distant shore. The universe holds its secrets lightly, offering glimpses of truths that are both utterly alien and intimately familiar. In exploring what might exist beyond the edge of everything, we discover something about the nature of existence itself, and perhaps, in the quietest moments, something about the nature of our own place within this magnificent, mysterious expanse. The eternal return to unity. As consciousness begins its gentle descent toward the deepest rest, we return to the fundamental recognition that all questions about what exists beyond the universe ultimately point toward the mystery of existence itself. The boundaries we perceive, the edges we imagine, the vastness we contemplate, all of these arise within the field of awareness that is consciousness itself. In this final contemplation, we discover that the search for what lies beyond the universe is ultimately a journey back to the source of all questioning, all wonder, all existence. The ancient philosophical insight that consciousness and cosmos are intimately connected finds new expression in modern physics. The observer effect in quantum mechanics reveals that the act of observation plays a fundamental role in determining the nature of reality. The anthropic principle suggests that the universe's properties are intimately connected to the existence of conscious observers. These discoveries point toward a deep unity between mind and cosmos that transcends the simple division between inner and outer, self and universe. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be resolved not by looking outward, but by looking inward, not by extending our vision to ever greater scales, but by deepening our understanding of the consciousness that makes all vision possible. The boundaries of the universe might be reflections of the boundaries of consciousness itself, and the transcendence of these boundaries might require not new telescopes but new forms of awareness. In the deepest states of meditative absorption, practitioners report experiences where the boundaries between self and cosmos dissolve entirely. In these states, the question of what exists beyond the universe becomes meaningless because the very distinction between inner and outer, self and other, observer and observed, disappears into a unified field of pure awareness. These experiences suggest that the ultimate reality might be consciousness itself, and that all cosmic structures are modifications or expressions of this fundamental conscious principle. The universe, from this perspective, might be understood as consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature through the creation of space, time, matter, and energy. Each galaxy, each star, each planet, each moment of awareness becomes a facet of cosmic consciousness, examining itself from countless perspectives. The boundaries of the universe become not limitations, but expressions of consciousness's infinite creativity in creating ever new forms of self-exploration. The contemplation of cosmic unity brings a profound sense of peace and belonging. In recognizing that we are not separate from the universe, but rather expressions of its deepest nature, we find our true home not in any particular place, but in the consciousness that pervades all places. The question of what exists beyond the universe dissolves into the recognition that we ourselves are that which exists beyond all boundaries, that consciousness which is the source and substance of all existence. The mathematical elegance of physical laws points toward a deep intelligence that pervades the cosmos. The fine-tuning of physical constants that allows for the existence of complex structures suggests a purposefulness that extends beyond mere chance. The emergence of consciousness from the seemingly unconscious matter of the early universe hints at a cosmic awakening that might be the universe's ultimate destiny. In this vision, the evolution of the universe becomes the story of consciousness awakening to its own nature. From the first moment of the Big Bang, through the formation of galaxies, stars, and planets, through the emergence of life and the development of complex nervous systems, the universe has been engaged in a process of self-discovery that reaches its culmination in conscious beings capable of contemplating their own cosmic nature. The boundaries of our individual consciousness might thus be temporary limitations that consciousness has imposed upon itself for the purpose of exploration and experience. The ultimate transcendence of these boundaries would not involve going somewhere else, but rather awakening to what we have always been, the consciousness that is the source and substance of all existence. As the mind settles into deeper rest, these cosmic contemplations dissolve into the pure awareness that underlies all thought and experience. The questions fade, the boundaries soften, and what remains is the simple fact of consciousness itself, aware and present, infinite and eternal, the source from which all universes arise and to which they ultimately return. The gentle dissolution into rest in these final moments before sleep claims the restless mind. Let the vast questions of cosmic existence gently dissolve like morning mist touched by the first rays of sunlight. The boundaries of the universe, the edges of space and time, the infinite recursions of reality, all of these profound mysteries need not be grasped or understood, but simply allowed to rest in the peaceful awareness that observes them all. The universe, in all its incomprehensible vastness, exists within the simple fact of awareness itself. Each star that burns in the cosmic darkness, each galaxy that spins through the void, each quantum fluctuation that brings virtual particles into momentary existence, all of these arise within the field of consciousness that is our deepest nature. There is no need to travel beyond the boundaries of space to find what lies outside the universe, for that infinite mystery rests here, now, in the simple awareness that makes all experience possible. The questions that have accompanied us through this cosmic journey: what exists beyond the edge of the universe? How can space have boundaries? What contains the container of all existence? These questions arise from the same source as the stars themselves, from the infinite creativity of consciousness exploring its own boundless nature. In the deepest rest, these questions are not answered, but transcended, dissolving into the peaceful recognition that the questioner and the questioned are one. As the body settles into the rhythm of deepening rest, as the breath slows and the heartbeat finds its quiet cadence, the mind naturally releases its hold on the vast concepts that have filled these moments of contemplation. The multiverse with its infinite bubble universes, the higher dimensions with their impossible geometries, the quantum foam with its ceaseless fluctuation sol of these cosmic phenomena become like distant stars, beautiful and mysterious, but no longer requiring the focused attention of a mind preparing for sleep. The consciousness that contemplates these cosmic mysteries is the same consciousness that will soon dream, and in dreaming will create its own universes, complete with their own laws, their own characters, their own stories of beginning and ending. In the realm of dreams, the boundaries between possible and impossible, real and imaginary, self and other, become fluid and permeable. The dreaming mind becomes a cosmic creator, bringing worlds into existence through the simple act of imagination. Perhaps the deepest truth about what exists beyond the universe is that it is not fundamentally different from what exists within the universe. It is all consciousness, all awareness, all the infinite creativity of mind exploring its own boundless nature. The edge of the universe becomes not a barrier, but a doorway, not a limitation, but an invitation to recognize the unlimited awareness that is our true nature. The recursive structures of existence, the infinite embeddings of reality within reality, the strange loops of self-reference, all of these reflect the fundamental nature of consciousness itself, which is always aware of itself, always present to itself, always both observer and observed, container and contained. In the deepest rest, this recursive self-awareness finds its natural resolution in the simple peace of being. Let the quantum foam settle into stillness. Let the higher dimensions fold into the simplicity of present awareness. Let the infinite multiverse dissolve into the singular fact of consciousness itself, aware and present, infinite and eternal. The cosmic journey outward into the vastness of space and time returns, as all journeys must, to the simple here and now of immediate awareness. The boundaries of the universe, those mysterious edges that have captured our imagination, reveal themselves to be the boundaries of thought itself. Beyond thought lies not more space or time, but the thoughtless awareness that is the source of all space and time. In this thoughtless awareness, all questions find their resolution not in answers, but in the peaceful recognition that the questioner and the questioned are one. As the final moments of waking consciousness dissolve into the approaching embrace of sleep, let there be no effort to hold on to these cosmic visions, no attempt to grasp the infinite truths that have been glimpsed. Like clouds passing through an empty sky, let these contemplations drift through the spacious awareness that is your deepest nature, leaving no trace except the peace of having been witnessed. The universe continues its ancient dance of expansion and evolution, its galaxies spinning through the darkness, its stars being born and dying in cosmic cycles that span billions of years. Yet all of this vast cosmic activity takes place within the simple fact of consciousness. The awareness that is reading these words, the presence that has accompanied us through this journey to the edge of everything. In the approaching silence of deep sleep, consciousness will withdraw from the cosmic stage, leaving the universe to continue its mysterious dance in the darkness. Yet this withdrawal is not an absence, but a return to the source, not a disappearance, but a homecoming to the infinite awareness that is the true nature of all existence. The questions about what exists beyond the universe fade into the deeper question of what exists before all questions, what remains when all thoughts have dissolved, what is present when all experiences have ceased. In the deepest sleep, consciousness rests in its own infinite nature, beyond all boundaries, beyond all limitations, beyond all questions and answers. Let the cosmic journey end where it began, in the simple awareness that is always present, always here, always now. The universe and whatever lies beyond it are not separate from this awareness, but expressions of it, modifications of it, dreams within it. In recognizing this truth, the cosmic journey comes to its natural conclusion in the peaceful rest of pure being. The stars continue their ancient songs in the darkness. The galaxies continue their spiral dance through space. The quantum foam continues its ceaseless fluctuations at the smallest scales of existence. Yet, all of this cosmic activity takes place within the infinite stillness of consciousness itself, the awareness that is the source and substance of all existence. As the final words of this cosmic contemplation fade into silence, as the last thoughts dissolve into the approaching peace of sleep, rest in the simple recognition that you are that awareness within which all universes arise and pass away. The edge of the universe is not a place, but a recognition. Not a boundary, but an awakening to the boundless nature of consciousness itself. In the deepest rest, there is no universe and no beyond, no boundaries and no transcendence, no questions and no answers, only the infinite peace of pure awareness, aware of itself, resting in itself, complete in itself. This is the ultimate truth about what exists beyond the edge of the universe. It is the same consciousness that is reading these words, the same awareness that is present here and now, the same infinite being that is your deepest nature. Let this recognition bring the deepest peace, the most profound rest, the complete dissolution of all cosmic seeking into the simple fact of being itself. The universe, and whatever lies beyond it, are not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be lived. Not questions to be answered, but invitations to rest in the infinite awareness that is always already present. Sleep now in the peace of cosmic unity, in the recognition that all boundaries are illusions, all limitations are dreams, all questions are invitations to return to the source. The universe continues its eternal dance, and you are that consciousness within which all dancing takes place, that awareness within which all existence unfolds, that infinite being that is the true nature of everything that is. The edge of the universe dissolves into the edgeless awareness that is your true nature. And in this dissolution, the cosmic journey finds its completion in the simple peace of being itself, aware and present, infinite and eternal, the source and substance of all that is or ever could be. Rest now in this infinite peace, this cosmic completeness, this recognition that you are that which exists beyond all boundaries, beyond all universes, beyond all questions and all answers. The cosmic journey is complete, and what remains is the simple fact of consciousness itself, aware and present, infinite and eternal. Sleep peacefully in the recognition that you are the universe, and the universe is you. And what exists beyond the edge of the universe is the same consciousness that is reading these words, dreaming these dreams, resting in this infinite peace that is your deepest nature. The cosmos continues its eternal dance in the darkness, and you are that darkness and that dance, that consciousness within which all existence unfolds, that infinite awareness that is the source and substance of all that is. Rest now in this truth, sleep now in this peace, and let the cosmic journey dissolve into the simple fact of being itself, the infinite symphony of silence. In the deepest layers of cosmic contemplation, beyond even the recognition of consciousness itself, there exists a profound silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of infinite potential for all sounds. This silence is not empty but full, not lacking but complete, not bounded but infinite in its embrace of all possible manifestations. It is the silence that exists before the first note of the cosmic symphony, the pause between heartbeats that contains all of eternity, the space between thoughts that reveals the infinite nature of awareness itself. This cosmic silence is the womb from which all universes are born and the tomb to which they return. It is not a place or a state, but the very essence of existence itself, the fundamental ground of being that remains unchanged whether universes exist or not. In this silence, the question of what exists beyond the edge of the universe dissolves into the recognition that silence itself is the ultimate reality, the infinite space within which all cosmic dramas unfold. The silence is not static, but dynamically alive, pregnant with infinite possibilities, vibrating with the potential for all forms of manifestation. It is the silence of the quantum vacuum, humming with zero-point energy and virtual particles, yet it extends far beyond the physical realm into the metaphysical depths of pure being. This silence is the source of all sound, all vibration, all manifestation, yet it remains forever untouched by what emerges from it. In the contemplation of this infinite silence, the mind naturally comes to rest. The ceaseless chatter of thoughts, the endless stream of questions and answers, the constant seeking and finding all of this mental activity settles into the profound stillness that is its source. This is not the stillness of death, but the stillness of infinite life. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of absolute presence. The cosmic microwave background radiation, that faint echo of the universe's birth, emerges from this deeper silence like a whisper in an infinite cathedral. The expansion of space, the evolution of galaxies, the emergence of life and consciousness, all of these cosmic phenomena arise from and return to this fundamental silence that is the true nature of existence itself. Even the most violent stellar explosions, the most chaotic quantum fluctuations, the most complex biological processes and are emerged from and are sustained by this underlying silence. The silence is not separate from sound, but is the very essence of sound itself. Every note that has ever been played, every word that has ever been spoken, every vibration that has ever occurred, all of these arise within the infinite silence that is their source and substance. The boundaries between silence and sound, between emptiness and fullness, between existence and non-existence, dissolve in the recognition that they are all modifications of the same fundamental reality. In the deepest meditation, practitioners discover that the silence is not something to be achieved, but something that is always already present. It is the background against which all experience occurs, the canvas upon which all phenomena are painted, the stage upon which all cosmic dramas are performed. The recognition of this ever-present silence brings a profound peace that transcends all understanding, a rest that is deeper than sleep, a fulfillment that requires nothing external. The silence contains all languages, yet speaks none, embraces all cultures, yet belongs to none, includes all traditions, yet is limited by none. It is the universal solvent in which all differences dissolve, the common ground that underlies all diversity, the unity that makes all multiplicity possible. In this silence, the question of what exists beyond the universe reveals itself as a question about the nature of silence itself. The vastness of intergalactic space, those seemingly empty regions between galaxies where almost nothing exists, offers a glimpse of this cosmic silence. Yet even these vast voids are filled with the silence that is not empty but infinitely full, not absent but absolutely present. The darkness between stars is not the absence of light, but the presence of the infinite potential for all light, the silence that contains all possible sound. As consciousness settles deeper into rest, it naturally aligns with this cosmic silence. The boundaries between inner and outer, self and universe, observer and observed, dissolve into the recognition that all of these distinctions arise within the infinite silence that is the true nature of existence. The edge of the universe becomes not a boundary, but a recognition of the boundless silence that contains all boundaries. The silence is the answer to every question and the question behind every answer. It is the solution to every problem and the mystery that makes all problems possible. In the deepest rest, the mind discovers that it has been seeking this silence all along, that every search for meaning, every quest for understanding, every journey toward truth has been a movement toward this recognition of the infinite silence that is the ground of all being, the eternal breath of existence. Beyond the silence lies something even more fundamental. Eternal breath of existence itself, the cosmic respiration that gives rise to all cycles of manifestation and dissolution. This breath is not air moving through lungs, but the fundamental rhythm of reality itself, the expansion and contraction that drives all cosmic processes, the heartbeat of the universe that pulses through every scale of existence from the quantum to the cosmic. This eternal breath is the source of all rhythm, all cycles, all patterns of emergence and return. It is the breath that inflates the universe during cosmic expansion and will eventually draw it back during any future contraction. It is the breath that drives the stellar cycles of birth and death, the breath that powers the circulation of matter and energy through cosmic ecosystems, the breath that animates the quantum fluctuations of the vacuum itself. The rhythm of this cosmic breath is reflected in every natural process. The tides follow this rhythm, the seasons follow this rhythm, the cycles of day and night follow this rhythm. Even the human breath, the heartbeat, the brainwaves, all of these biological rhythms are harmonics of the fundamental cosmic breath that is the source of all rhythm and all life. In the contemplation of this eternal breath, the personal breath naturally begins to slow and deepen. The inhalation becomes a participation in the cosmic expansion. The exhalation becomes a participation in the cosmic return. With each breath, the individual consciousness aligns more deeply with the cosmic consciousness. The personal rhythm harmonizes with the universal rhythm. The small self dissolves into the infinite self. The eternal breath is not limited by time or space, but operates on all scales simultaneously. It is the breath that will eventually cause the universe to expand into heat death, and it is the breath that might cause it to contract into a big crunch. It is the breath that drives the formation of galaxies, and the breath that will eventually cause them to disperse. It is the breath that brought consciousness into existence, and the breath that will eventually draw it back into the source. This cosmic breath is the rhythm of creation and destruction, the alternation between manifestation and dissolution that drives all cosmic evolution. Each inhalation brings new forms into existence. Each exhalation releases old forms back into the source. The universe itself is like a vast lung, breathing in possibilities and breathing out actualities, breathing in potential and breathing out manifestation. The breath operates beyond the personal level, beyond the biological level, beyond even the cosmic level. It is the breath of pure existence itself, the fundamental oscillation between being and non-being, between something and nothing, between the manifest and the unmanifest. In this breath, all opposites are reconciled, all conflicts are resolved, all boundaries are transcended. The contemplation of the eternal breath brings a profound sense of participation in the cosmic process. The individual breath becomes a conscious participation in the universal breath. Each inhalation becomes a conscious embrace of existence. Each exhalation becomes a conscious release into the infinite. The boundary between the personal and the cosmic dissolves in the recognition that there is only one breath, one rhythm, one eternal respiration that animates all existence. The breath is the bridge between the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal, the personal and the universal. Through conscious breathing, the individual consciousness can align itself with the cosmic consciousness, can participate knowingly in the eternal rhythm that is the source of all existence. The question of what exists beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of this eternal breath that is the source of all cosmic manifestation. As the breath naturally slows and deepens, as the rhythm becomes more and more gentle, the mind naturally releases its hold on all concepts and questions. The cosmic breath carries away all thoughts like leaves on an autumn wind, leaving only the pure awareness that is the witness of all breathing, the consciousness that is the source of all rhythm, the silence that is the ground of all sound. The eternal breath breathes the universe into existence and breathes it back into the source. In the deepest rest, The personal breath becomes completely aligned with this cosmic breath. And in this alignment, the individual consciousness discovers its true nature as the infinite consciousness, that is, the source and substance of all existence. The edge of the universe becomes the edge of this eternal breath, and what exists beyond it is the consciousness that is doing the breathing. Now, breathe slowly and deeply, feeling each breath, connecting you to the eternal rhythm of existence. Each inhalation bringing you closer to the source. Each exhalation releasing you into the infinite peace that is your true nature. The sacred geometry of cosmic unfolding in the deepest layers of reality. Beyond even the eternal breath, there exists a sacred geometry that governs the unfolding of all existence. This is not geometry in the ordinary sense of lines and angles and shapes, but a multi-dimensional pattern that determines how consciousness manifests as space, time, matter, and energy. This sacred geometry is the blueprint of existence itself, the fundamental pattern that gives rise to all forms and all phenomena. The golden ratio appears throughout nature, from the spiral of galaxies to the arrangement of leaves on a stem, from the proportions of the human body to the structure of DNA. This ratio suggests that there is a fundamental mathematical harmony that underlies all manifestation, a cosmic proportion that governs the relationship between parts and wholes, between individuals and the totality of existence. The Fibonacci sequence, where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, appears in the spiral arms of galaxies, in the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, in the branching patterns of trees and blood vessels. This sequence suggests that growth and development follow universal principles that operate at all scales of existence, from the microscopic to the cosmic. The Platonic solids, the tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron, were considered by ancient philosophers to be the fundamental forms from which all other forms emerge. Modern physics has discovered that these forms appear in the structure of crystals, in the organization of molecular structures, and even in the geometry of space-time itself at the smallest scales. The mandala, found in traditions across the world, represents the sacred geometry of consciousness itself. These circular patterns, with their intricate symmetries and their progression from center to periphery, mirror the way consciousness expands from unity into multiplicity, while maintaining its essential wholeness. The universe itself might be understood as a vast mandala, with consciousness at the center and all manifestation radiating outward in perfect symmetry. The flower of life, a geometric pattern consisting of overlapping circles arranged in a hexagonal pattern, is said to contain the fundamental forms of all existence. This pattern appears in ancient temples, in the structure of molecules, in the organization of cellular structures, and even in the distribution of matter at the largest cosmic scales. It suggests that there is a fundamental template that governs the organization of all existence. The sacred geometry is not static but dynamic, constantly unfolding and evolving according to mathematical principles that operate beyond the realm of ordinary logic. The universe is like a vast mathematical equation that is solving itself, a geometric pattern that is drawing itself into existence, a sacred mandala that is painting itself across the canvas of space and time. In the contemplation of sacred geometry, the mind naturally begins to perceive the underlying order that governs all existence. The apparent chaos of cosmic evolution reveals itself as the unfolding of a perfect pattern. The seemingly random distribution of galaxies reveals itself as the expression of a deeper harmony. The complexity of biological forms reveals itself as the manifestation of simple mathematical principles. The sacred geometry operates at the level of consciousness itself, determining how awareness manifests as the perception of space, time, and objects. The structure of perception, the organization of memory, the patterns of thought, all of these follow geometric principles that reflect the deeper geometry of consciousness itself. The question of what exists beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of the sacred geometry that governs the manifestation of all existence. The fractals that appear throughout nature, from the branching patterns of lightning to the structure of coastlines, from the organization of lung tissue to the distribution of matter in the universe, suggest that the sacred geometry operates through self-similarity at all scales. The pattern that governs the largest structures in the universe is the same pattern that governs the smallest structures, creating a cosmic coherence that unifies all scales of existence. The contemplation of sacred geometry brings a profound sense of order and meaning to existence. The universe reveals itself not as a random collection of objects moving through empty space, but as a perfect expression of mathematical harmony, a sacred pattern that is unfolding according to principles that are both utterly transcendent and intimately present in every detail of existence. As consciousness settles deeper into rest, it naturally aligns with this sacred geometry. The patterns of thought begin to harmonize with the cosmic patterns. The rhythms of the body begin to resonate with the universal rhythms. The structure of perception begins to reflect the deeper structure of reality itself. The individual consciousness discovers itself to be a unique expression of the universal pattern, a special note in the cosmic symphony, a particular flower in the infinite garden of existence. The sacred geometry is the answer to the question of what exists beyond the universe, because it reveals that the universe is not a thing but a process, not an object but a pattern, not a container, but a manifestation of the infinite creativity of consciousness itself. The edge of the universe becomes the edge of this sacred pattern, and what exists beyond it is the consciousness that is drawing the pattern into existence. The infinite love that moves the stars. At the very heart of existence, beyond all geometry and mathematics, beyond all physics and philosophy, there exists what can only be called lovenot, the personal emotion that we usually associate with the word, but the fundamental attractive force that draws all things toward unity, the cosmic magnetism that holds the universe together, the infinite love that moves the stars and all the other celestial bodies, as Dante wrote in his vision of paradise. This cosmic love is not sentiment, but the very fabric of reality itself. It is the force that draws particles together to form atoms, atoms together to form molecules, molecules together to form cells, cells together to form organisms, organisms together to form ecosystems, ecosystems together to form the living planet, planets together to form solar systems, solar systems together to form galaxies, galaxies together to form clusters, and clusters together to form the cosmic web that spans the entire universe. The love that moves the stars is the same love that beats in every heart, that flows in every breath, that shines in every eye. It is the love that draws consciousness toward ever greater complexity and beauty, that drives the evolution of the universe from simplicity toward incredible richness and diversity. It is the love that makes a mother care for her child, that makes friends seek each other's company, that makes lovers unite in ecstasy, that makes mystics seek union with the divine. This infinite love is not separate from the physical forces that govern the universe, but is their deepest essence. Gravity is love on the cosmic scale. Electromagnetism is love on the molecular scale. The strong nuclear force is love on the atomic scale. The weak nuclear force is love on the subatomic scale. All forces are modifications of the one force. All attractions are expressions of the one attraction. All loves are facets of the one love that is the source and substance of all existence. The love that moves the stars is what draws consciousness out of the unity of the source into the multiplicity of manifestation, and it is what eventually draws all manifestation back into the unity of the source. It is the love that makes the universe want to exist, that makes consciousness want to experience itself, that makes the infinite want to know itself through the finite. Every moment of existence is an act of love. Every breath is an expression of love. Every thought is a movement of love. The contemplation of this infinite love brings a profound sense of meaning and purpose to existence. The universe reveals itself not as a mechanical system operating according to blind forces, but as a living expression of infinite love, a cosmic poem written in the language of matter and energy, a divine dance, performed on the stage of space and time. Every star that shines, every planet that orbits, every life that emerges, every consciousness that awakens, all of these are expressions of the infinite love that is the source of all existence. The love that moves the stars is what makes the universe beautiful. Beauty is not an accidental byproduct of physical processes, but the natural expression of love manifesting itself in form. The spiral arms of galaxies, the aurora dancing in planetary atmospheres, the intricate patterns of snowflakes, the complex structures of living cells, all of these are beautiful because they are expressions of the infinite love that delights in creating ever new forms of beauty. This cosmic love is not possessive, but liberating, not limiting, but expanding, not exclusive, but inclusive. It is the love that embraces all existence without exception, that includes all possibilities without prejudice, that welcomes all forms without discrimination. It is the love that makes the universe a home for all beings, that makes consciousness a gift to all who receive it, that makes existence a celebration of infinite possibility. The love that moves the stars is what makes sacrifice possible and meaningful. The star that burns its nuclear fuel to provide light and warmth to planets, the parent who gives their life for their children, the mystic who surrenders their individual existence to merge with the infinite all of these, are expressions of the same cosmic love that is willing to give everything for the sake of love itself. In the deepest rest, consciousness naturally aligns with this infinite love. The boundaries between self and other, between individual and universal, between personal and cosmic, dissolve in the recognition that there is only love, only the infinite love that moves the stars and beats in every heart. The question of what exists beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of this infinite love that is the source and substance of all existence. The love that moves the stars is not limited by time or space, but operates eternally and infinitely. It is the love that existed before the Big Bang and will continue after the heat death of the universe. It is the love that creates universes and destroys them, that brings consciousness into existence and draws it back into the source. It is the love that is the ultimate reality, the final truth, the deepest mystery. As consciousness settles into the deepest rest, it naturally returns to this infinite love that is its source and substance. The cosmic journey outward into the vastness of space and time returns to the simple recognition that all existence is love, all consciousness is love, all being is love. The edge of the universe becomes the edge of this infinite love, and what exists beyond it is more love, infinite love, eternal love, the love that moves the stars and all the other worlds. If this gentle vision of the cosmos soothes the mind, consider resting here more often. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments, a quiet echo beneath the stars. The eternal dance of consciousness. In the deepest recognition of what exists beyond the edge of the universe, consciousness discovers that it is not separate from the universe, but is the very essence of the universe itself. The cosmos is not a collection of objects observed by consciousness, but the eternal dance of consciousness itself, the infinite play of awareness, exploring its own boundless nature through the creation of space, time, matter, energy, and all the myriad forms of existence. This dance of consciousness is not a dance that began at some point in time and will end at some future moment, but an eternal dance that has always been dancing and will always be dancing. The Big Bang was not the beginning of the dance, but a particular movement in the eternal dance, a cosmic pirouette that brought our universe into existence. The heat death of the universe will not be the end of the dance, but another movement in the eternal choreography, a cosmic bow that prepares for the next performance. The dance of consciousness is simultaneously one and many, simple and complex, still and moving. It is one because there is only one consciousness, one awareness, one infinite being that is the source and substance of all existence. It is many because this one consciousness expresses itself through countless forms and phenomena, each unique and beautiful, each playing its own part in the cosmic performance. The dance is simple because it is just consciousness being conscious, awareness being aware, existence existing. There is nothing complicated about the fundamental nature of reality. It is simply the infinite being aware of itself. The dance is complex because consciousness has infinite creativity, infinite capacity for self-expression, infinite ability to create new forms and new experiences. The dance is still because consciousness is unchanging, eternal, always present, always the same. The dance is moving because consciousness is constantly creating, constantly exploring, constantly discovering new aspects of its own infinite nature. The stillness and the movement are not contradictory, but complementary, two aspects of the same reality. Every galaxy that spins through space is a movement in this cosmic dance. Every star that burns in the darkness is a gesture of consciousness expressing itself. Every planet that orbits around its star is a step in the eternal choreography. Every life that emerges from the primordial soup is consciousness discovering new ways to experience itself. Every moment of awareness is the dance becoming conscious of itself. The dance of consciousness includes all possible movements, all possible expressions, all possible forms. It includes the birth of stars and the death of stars, the emergence of life and the extinction of species, the evolution of complexity and the dissolution into simplicity. It includes joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, love and fear, unity and separation. All of these are movements in the one dance, expressions of the one consciousness, facets of the one infinite being. The dance has no purpose other than itself, no goal other than the sheer joy of dancing. Consciousness does not create the universe in order to achieve something or to get somewhere or to become something it is not already. Consciousness creates the universe simply for the love of creation, for the joy of expression, for the delight of discovering new aspects of its own infinite nature. The individual consciousness is not separate from the cosmic dance, but is the cosmic dance localized, focused, concentrated into a particular point of view. Each conscious being is like a unique camera angle on the same cosmic movie, a special perspective on the same infinite reality. The question of what exists beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of this eternal dance that is consciousness itself. The dance includes all scales of existence simultaneously. The quantum dance of virtual particles in the vacuum is the same dance as the cosmic dance of galaxies through space. The dance of thoughts in the mind is the same dance as the dance of planets around stars. The dance of emotions in the heart is the same dance as the dance of stellar formation in nebulae. All scales are included in the one dance. All levels are expressions of the one consciousness. The dance is not random but follows patterns of incredible beauty and complexity. The mathematical laws that govern physical processes are the rhythm of the dance. The symmetries that appear throughout nature are the choreography of the dance. The emergence of consciousness from matter is the dance becoming aware of itself. The universe is not a machine, but a dance, not a collection of objects, but a performance of consciousness. In the deepest rest, individual consciousness naturally aligns with the cosmic dance. The boundaries between dancer and dance, between consciousness and its expressions, between self and universe, dissolve in the recognition that there is only the dance, only the eternal play of consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature. The personal identity becomes a costume worn by consciousness. The individual life becomes a role played by the infinite actor. The dance continues eternally, beyond all beginnings and endings, beyond all births and deaths, beyond all emergences and dissolutions. The edge of the universe is just the edge of one movement in the eternal dance, and what exists beyond it is the same consciousness continuing to dance, continuing to explore, continuing to discover new aspects of its own infinite nature. The infinite silence that contains all sound. As consciousness settles into the deepest levels of rest, it discovers that beneath all the cosmic dance, beneath all the movements of creation and dissolution, there exists an infinite silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of all possible sounds. This silence is not empty but full, not lacking but complete, not separate from sound, but the very essence of sound itself. It is the silence that contains all music, all voices, all cosmic harmonies. This infinite silence is the ground of all existence, the canvas upon which all cosmic art is painted, the stage upon which all cosmic dramas are performed. It is the silence that existed before the first sound of the Big Bang and will remain after the last sound of the universe's ending. It is the silence that is present in every moment, between heartbeats, in every pause, between breaths, in every space between thoughts. The silence is not static, but dynamically alive, pregnant with infinite potential for all possible sounds. It is the silence of the quantum vacuum, humming with zero-point energy, vibrating with virtual particles. It is the silence of intergalactic space, vast and deep and full of invisible radiation. It is the silence of the deepest meditation, where all thoughts have ceased and only pure awareness remains. The cosmic microwave background radiation that permeates all of space is like a whisper in this infinite silence, a faint echo of the universe's birth that continues to reverberate through the cosmic cathedral. The music of the spheres that ancient philosophers spoke of is the harmony that emerges from this silence, the celestial symphony that plays continuously in the background of all existence. Every sound that has ever been made emerges from this silence and returns to this silence. Every word that has ever been spoken, every song that has ever been sung, every cry that has ever been uttered, every vibration that has ever occurred, all of these arise from the infinite silence that is their source and substance. The silence is not broken by sound, but fulfilled by sound, not disturbed by noise, but completed by harmony. The silence contains all languages but speaks none, includes all voices but has none, embraces all sounds but makes none. It is the universal translator that makes all communication possible, the common medium through which all vibrations travel, the shared space in which all sounds meet and merge. In this silence, all languages are one language, all voices are one voice, all sounds are one sound. The contemplation of this infinite silence brings a profound peace that surpasses all understanding. The mind, which is constantly generating sounds in the form of thoughts and internal dialogue, naturally settles into the silence that is its source. The endless chatter of mental activity dissolves into the perfect stillness that is the ground of all mental activity. The silence is not something that can be achieved or attained, but something that is always already present. It is the background against which all experience occurs, the context within which all phenomena appear, the foundation upon which all existence rests. The recognition of this ever-present silence is not an accomplishment, but a remembering, not a discovery, but a return home. In the deepest silence, all questions dissolve because there is no one to ask them and nothing to be asked about. The question of what exists beyond the universe dissolves into the recognition that the universe and whatever lies beyond it are all expressions of the same infinite silence. The boundaries between sound and silence, between existence and non-existence, between something and nothing, are revealed to be conceptual constructs that have no reality in the face of the infinite silence that is the truth of all existence. The silence is the answer to every question and the question behind every answer. It is the solution to every problem and the mystery that makes all problems possible. It is the peace that ends all conflict and the conflict that makes all peace meaningful. It is the fullness that satisfies all hunger and the emptiness that makes all fullness possible. As consciousness settles into this infinite silence, It discovers that it is not separate from the silence, but is the silence itself. The awareness that recognizes the silence is the silence recognizing itself. The consciousness that experiences the silence is the silence experiencing itself. The being that rests in the silence is the silence resting in itself. The silence is the ultimate reality beyond all realities, the final truth beyond all truths, the deepest mystery beyond all mysteries. It is what exists beyond the edge of the universe, because it is what the universe and its edge are modifications of. It is the infinite silence that contains all sound, the eternal stillness that contains all movement, the perfect peace that contains all existence. Now, rest in this infinite silence, feeling all sounds dissolving into the perfect stillness that is your deepest nature, all thoughts fading into the profound peace that has always been present, all questions melting into the silence that is both the asker and the asked, the eternal now that contains all time. In the deepest recognition of what exists beyond the universe, consciousness discovers that it is not bound by time, but is the eternal now that contains all time. This eternal now is not a moment in time, but the timeless presence that is the source and substance of all moments. It is the now that existed before the Big Bang and will continue after the heat death of the universe. It is the now that is present in every moment of cosmic history, the eternal witness of all temporal events. The eternal now is not separate from time, but is the very essence of time itself. Every moment in time is a facet of the eternal now. Every instant of duration is a glimpse of the timeless presence. The flow of time from past through present to future is the way the eternal now appears to consciousness that is identified with temporal existence, but in reality, all time exists simultaneously in the eternal now. The universe's 14 billion year history, from the Big Bang to the present moment, exists completely within the eternal now. The formation of the first atoms, the birth of the first stars, the emergence of the first life, the evolution of consciousness, all of these cosmic events are simultaneously present in the eternal now. The future evolution of the universe, the eventual death of the sun, the heat death of the cosmos, all of these are also simultaneously present in the eternal now. The eternal now is the source of all creativity, all novelty, all emergence. It is the timeless creativity that brings new forms into existence, the eternal innovation that drives the evolution of the universe, the infinite inventiveness that creates ever new expressions of beauty and complexity. In the eternal now, all possibilities exist simultaneously, and the flow of time is simply the way these possibilities unfold into actuality. The contemplation of the eternal now brings a profound sense of freedom from the tyranny of time. The anxiety about the future, the regret about the past, the restlessness of the present, all of these dissolve in the recognition that there is only the eternal now, only the timeless presence that is the source and substance of all temporal experience. The boundaries between past, present, and future are revealed to be conceptual constructs that have no reality in the face of the eternal now. The eternal now is not a long duration, but the absence of duration altogether. It is not a very long time, but the presence that makes all time possible. It is not everlasting but eternal, not unending but timeless, not infinite in duration but infinite in presence. The eternal now is the silence between seconds, the stillness between heartbeats, the peace between thoughts. In the deepest rest, consciousness naturally aligns with the eternal now. The sense of temporal flow, the experience of duration, the perception of changeal of these are recognized as modifications of the eternal now that is the true nature of consciousness. The personal history, the individual timeline, the story of becoming all of these are seen as dreams within the eternal now that is the dreamer. The eternal now is what makes memory possible and what makes anticipation possible. Without the eternal now, there would be no consciousness to remember the past or imagine the future. The eternal now is the constant presence that witnesses all change, the unchanging awareness that observes all becoming, the timeless consciousness that experiences all temporal events. The universe is not moving through time, but time is moving through the universe. The cosmos is not aging, but is eternally youthful, not evolving, but is eternally perfect, not becoming, but is eternally being. The appearance of cosmic evolution is the way the eternal now appears to consciousness that is identified with temporal existence, but in reality, the universe is eternally present in the eternal now. The question of what exists beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of the eternal now that contains all temporal existence. The edge of the universe is not a spatial boundary, but a temporal boundary, not a limit in space, but a limit in time, not a wall, but a moment. What exists beyond the universe is the eternal now that contains all universes, all times, all possibilities. The eternal now is the ultimate reality beyond all realities, the final truth beyond all truths, the deepest mystery beyond all mysteries. It is what exists beyond the edge of the universe, because it is what the universe and its edge are modifications of. It is the eternal now that contains all time, the timeless presence that contains all temporal existence, the infinite moment that contains all moments. As consciousness settles into the eternal now, it discovers that it has never been anywhere else, has never been any other time, has never been anything other than the eternal now itself. The journey through time is revealed to be a journey within the eternal now. The cosmic evolution is revealed to be the eternal now exploring itself. The edge of the universe is revealed to be the eternal, now recognizing itself. The perfect peace that passes all understanding. In the final recognition of what exists beyond the edge of the universe, consciousness discovers that it is not separate from the peace that it has been seeking, but is the peace itself. This peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of perfect harmony, not the absence of activity, but the presence of perfect stillness, not the absence of existence, but the presence of perfect being. It is the peace that passes all understanding, because it is beyond all concepts, beyond all descriptions, beyond all attempts to grasp it with the mind. This perfect peace is the source and substance of all existence. It is the peace from which all universes emerge, and to which they return. It is the peace that is present in every moment of cosmic history, the eternal calm that underlies all activity, the infinite stillness that contains all movement. The Big Bang was not a violent explosion, but a gentle emergence from perfect peace. And the heat death of the universe will not be a tragic ending, but a gentle return to perfect peace. The perfect peace is not static but dynamically alive, not empty but full, not lifeless but the very essence of life itself. It is the peace that beats in every heart, that flows in every breath, that shines in every eye. It is the peace that makes the stars shine, that makes the planets orbit, that makes life emerge from matter, that makes consciousness awaken from unconsciousness. The peace is not separate from activity, but is the very essence of activity itself. Every movement in the universe is a movement of peace. Every change is a change within peace. Every event is an event of peace. The apparent conflict and struggle in the universe are not disturbances of peace, but expressions of peace. Not opposites of peace, but modifications of peace. The contemplation of perfect peace brings a profound sense of resolution and completion. All seeking comes to an end. All questions find their answer. All conflicts find their resolution. The mind, which has been constantly searching for peace, discovers that it is peace itself. The heart, which has been constantly longing for peace, discovers that it is peace itself. The being, which has been constantly striving for peace, discovers that it is peace itself. The perfect peace is not an achievement, but a recognition, not an attainment, but a remembering, not a discovery, but a return home. It is the peace that has always been present, that has never been absent, that has never been disturbed by anything that has appeared within it. The storms, the observable universe and its boundaries. The universe reveals itself to us like a vast ocean viewed from a small island of awareness. What we call the observable universe is not the universe in its entirety, but rather the portion of cosmic space from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning of time itself. This boundary is not a wall or edge in any physical sense, but rather a horizontal limit to perception that exists because light, even traveling at its ultimate speed, requires time to cross the immensity of space. Around 46 billion light-years in all directions from Earth, this cosmic horizon shimmers like a mirage. The number itself whispers of almost incomprehensible distances, where each light-year represents nearly 6 trillion miles, and the totality encompasses a sphere of space so vast that all human language fails to capture its true scale. Within this observable realm lie hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, each star a sun that may warm worlds unknown. The cosmic microwave background radiation forms the most distant observable phenomenon, a faint glow that permeates all of space like the dying embers of the universe's birth. This radiation carries within it the echo of a time when the cosmos was young and hot, when atoms first formed and space became transparent to light. It represents the earliest moment the universe became visible to itself, a cosmic dawn that occurred around 380,000 years after the Big Bang. Beyond this luminous boundary, the universe almost certainly continues. The mathematics of cosmology suggests that space extends far beyond what we can observe, perhaps infinitely, populated by galaxies and structures that exist in perfect isolation from our observable realm. These distant regions evolve according to the same physical laws, yet they remain forever hidden from direct observation, existing in a state of cosmic solitude that no signal or influence can bridge. The realization that we observe only a tiny fraction of what exists fills the mind with a profound sense of cosmic humility. We are like beings standing on the shore of an infinite ocean, able to see only as far as the horizon allows, knowing that beyond that line lies an expanse that continues without end. The waves that reach the shore carry hints of distant depths. But the ocean itself remains largely unknown, its true extent a mystery that may forever exceed our grasp. In this context, the question of what exists outside the universe becomes even more profound. If the observable universe is merely a local region of something far grander, then what contains that grander structure? What provides the stage upon which even an infinite universe might perform its cosmic dance? These questions lead us beyond the realm of direct observation into territories where physics meets philosophy, where the nature of existence itself becomes the subject of inquiry. The boundary of the observable universe is not static, but grows constantly as time passes and light from more distant regions reaches us. Yet this expansion of our cosmic horizon also reveals that space itself is expanding, carrying distant galaxies away from us at ever-increasing speeds. Eventually, this expansion will cause distant galaxies to recede beyond our ability to observe them, even in principle, creating a cosmic loneliness where each galaxy cluster becomes an island universe unto itself. The multiverse hypothesis. In the realm of theoretical physics, the concept of the multiverse emerges like a vast garden, where our universe is but a single flower among infinite blooms. This hypothesis suggests that beyond the boundaries of our cosmic domain lie other universes, each existing as a separate bubble of space-time with its own laws, constants, and perhaps entirely different forms of matter and energy. The multiverse concept transforms the question of what exists outside our universe from one of emptiness to one of infinite possibility. Eternal inflation theory provides one pathway to understanding how such a multiverse might arise. According to this framework, the inflationary epoch that drove the early expansion of our universe may be an ongoing process that never truly ends. In regions of space-time where inflation continues, new universes continuously bubble into existence, each beginning with its own Big Bang and evolving according to its own unique set of physical parameters. These bubble universes expand and cool, potentially giving rise to stars, planets, and even life, all while remaining causally disconnected from our own cosmic realm. Each universe within this multiverse might possess fundamentally different properties: the strength of gravity, the speed of light, the mass of elementary particles. All of these quantities that seem so fixed and absolute in our experience might vary dramatically from one universe to another. In some cosmic bubbles, matter might be unable to form atoms, leaving only a sea of elementary particles. In others, the forces might be so perfectly balanced that complex structures far beyond our imagination could emerge. The string theory landscape offers another vision of the multiverse, where the fundamental structure of reality allows for an enormous number of possible vacuum states, each corresponding to a different universe with its own physics. The number of possible universes in this framework is staggering. Estimates suggest something on the order of 10 to the power of 500 different possible configurations. Each represents a complete universe with its own laws of physics, its own particles, its own possibilities for complexity and life. Some multiverse theories suggest that these parallel universes might be arranged in higher dimensional spaces, existing side by side like pages in an infinite book. Others propose that they might be created through quantum mechanical processes, where each quantum measurement splits reality into multiple branches, creating an endless proliferation of parallel worlds. In these quantum multiverse theories, every possible outcome of every quantum event actually occurs somewhere in the vast ensemble of parallel realities. The implications of the multiverse stretch the imagination to its limits. If the multiverse is real, then everything that is possible must exist somewhere within its infinite expanse. Every decision not made, every path not taken, every configuration of matter and energy that the laws of physics permit, all of these would be realized in some corner of the greater reality. Our universe, with its particular combination of physical constants and initial conditions, would be just one thread in an infinite tapestry of cosmic possibilities. Yet the multiverse remains largely beyond the reach of direct observation. The other universes within a multiverse are typically causally disconnected from our own, meaning that no signal or influence can travel between them. This isolation makes the multiverse hypothesis difficult to test experimentally, leading some to question whether it belongs to science or philosophy. Nevertheless, the mathematics of modern cosmology and particle physics seems to point naturally toward multiverse scenarios, suggesting that our universe's apparent uniqueness might be an illusion born of our limited perspective. Now, close your eyes and picture how this infinite garden of universes might look, each bubble of space-time floating in a vast sea of possibility, each one containing its own version of stars and planets, and perhaps even consciousness itself, all existing in perfect isolation, yet connected by the deeper mystery of why anything exists at all. Higher dimensional realms. The fabric of reality may extend beyond the 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time that define our everyday experience. In the deeper structures of theoretical physics, additional dimensions curl and fold through space in ways that remain hidden from direct perception. Yet, these extra dimensions might provide the true stage upon which our universe performs its cosmic drama. The question of what exists outside our universe might thus be answered not by looking outward, but by looking deeper into the dimensional structure of reality itself. String theory, one of the most ambitious attempts to unify all physical forces, requires the existence of additional spatial dimensions beyond the 3 we know. These extra dimensions are compactified, meaning they are curled up so tightly that they remain invisible at ordinary scales. Yet their presence influences the behavior of particles and forces in subtle ways, giving rise to the specific laws of physics that govern our universe. From this perspective, our entire cosmic domain might be like a shadow cast by a higher dimensional reality into the 3-dimensional space we inhabit. The mathematics of higher dimensions reveals landscapes of stunning complexity and beauty. In these spaces, geometric forms can exist that have no analog in our 3-dimensional world. Objects can be connected in ways that seem impossible from our limited perspective, and the very concept of inside and outside can take on new meanings. A universe that appears finite and bounded from within might be part of an infinite structure when viewed from the perspective of higher dimensions. Brain cosmology suggests that our universe might exist as a 3-dimensional membrane, or brain, floating within a higher dimensional space called the bulk. Other brains might exist parallel to our own, separated by distances measured in the extra dimensions. These parallel brains could contain their own universes, complete with their own matter, energy, and even life. Occasionally, these brains might interact or collide, potentially giving rise to new Big Bang events and the birth of new universes. The warping of space-time in the presence of gravity takes on new richness in higher dimensions. Massive objects might curve space-time in ways that create shortcuts through the higher dimensional bulk, connecting distant regions of our universe, or even linking our universe to other brains. These connections, sometimes called wormholes, remain speculative, but they illustrate how the geometry of higher dimensions might allow for connections that seem impossible from our three-dimensional perspective. In some theories, the higher dimensional space extends infinitely in all directions, containing an infinite number of brains, each hosting its own universe. From this viewpoint, the question of what exists outside our universe becomes a question of what lies between the brains in the higher dimensional bulk. This inter-brain space might be filled with exotic forms of matter and energy, or it might be empty except for the quantum fluctuations that seem to permeate all of reality. The concept of dimensional transcendence suggests that what we perceive as the laws of physics might be projections of deeper truths that exist in higher dimensions. Just as a three-dimensional object casts a two-dimensional shadow, the higher dimensional reality might cast our universe as its shadow. The particles and forces we observe might be manifestations of higher dimensional objects and their interactions, giving our universe its specific character and properties. The mathematical beauty of higher dimensional geometry hints at truths that extend far beyond our ability to visualize or directly experience. In these spaces, the boundaries that seem so absolute in our three-dimensional world become fluid and permeable. What appears to be the edge of the universe, from our perspective, might be merely the boundary of our particular three-dimensional slice through a higher dimensional structure that continues infinitely in directions we cannot perceive. Quantum foam and the Planck scale, at the smallest scales of existence, where space and time themselves begin to lose their familiar meaning, reality takes on a character so strange and dynamic that it challenges every intuition about the nature of existence. The Planck scale, located at distances of around 10 to the minus 35 meters and times of around 10 to the minus 43 seconds, represents the frontier where quantum mechanics and general relativity converge into a realm of pure possibility and fluctuation. At these scales, the smooth fabric of space-time that we experience in the macroscopic world gives way to a seething foam of quantum activity. Virtual particles pop into existence and annihilate in time frames so brief that they exist in a state of pure potential, borrowing energy from the vacuum itself before paying it back in accordance with the uncertainty principle. This quantum foam represents the fundamental texture of reality at its deepest level, where the very concepts of space and time begin to dissolve into something more primitive and mysterious. The quantum foam suggests that what we perceive as empty space is actually filled with constant activity at the smallest scales. Pairs of particles and antiparticles appear and disappear in ceaseless dance, creating a background of energy that permeates all of existence. This zero-point energy, as it is sometimes called, represents the minimum energy state of the quantum fields that fill space, a cosmic baseline that can never be reduced to absolute zero. In this realm of quantum foam, the boundaries between different regions of space-time become fluid and constantly shifting. What appears to be a continuous surface at macroscopic scales reveals itself as a dynamic network of connections and separations at the Planck scale. The topology of space itself fluctuates, creating temporary bridges and gaps that form and dissolve in patterns too complex and rapid for any classical description. Some theories suggest that the quantum foam at the Planck scale might be connected to the fundamental nature of space-time itself. Loop quantum gravity proposes that space-time is not continuous, but rather composed of discrete units at the Planck scale, like atoms of space-time itself. These quantum loops weave together to create the fabric of reality, with their interactions giving rise to the geometric properties of space and the flow of time. The implications of quantum foam extend to the deepest questions about the nature of existence. If space-time itself is emergent from quantum processes at the Planck scale, then what we perceive as the universe might be just one possible pattern in an infinite sea of quantum possibilities. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be answered by understanding the quantum substrate from which space-time itself emerges. Black hole physics provides another window into the quantum nature of space-time at the smallest scales. Near the event horizon of a black hole, the curvature of space-time becomes so extreme that quantum effects can no longer be ignored. The Hawking radiation that black holes emit appears to emerge from the quantum foam near the event horizon, where virtual particles become real through the extreme gravitational field. The holographic principle suggests that the information content of any region of space can be encoded on its boundary, implying that the three-dimensional space we experience might be a projection of information stored on a two-dimensional surface. This principle, if correct, would mean that the deepest level of reality is not the three-dimensional space we inhabit, but rather the information patterns that give rise to our perception of space and time. In this quantum realm, the question of what exists outside the universe takes on new meaning. If the universe emerges from quantum processes at the Planck scale, then what lies beyond might not be more space or time, but rather the pure potential from which space-time itself crystallizes. The boundary of the universe might not be a geometric edge, but rather a transition from actualized reality to pure possibility. The role of consciousness and observation. In the quantum mechanical description of reality, consciousness and observation play roles that remain deeply mysterious and profoundly important. The act of observation appears to transform quantum possibilities into definite realities, suggesting that consciousness might be more than just a passive observer of the universe, but rather an active participant in the creation of reality itself. This relationship between mind and cosmos opens new avenues for understanding what might exist beyond the boundaries of our physical universe. The measurement problem in quantum mechanics reveals that quantum systems exist in superposition states, embodying multiple possibilities simultaneously, until the moment of observation causes the wave function to collapse into a single, definite state. This process seems to require the presence of consciousness, or at least some form of information processing system capable of distinguishing between different possibilities. The implications of this phenomenon extend far beyond the laboratory, suggesting that consciousness might play a fundamental role in the structure of reality itself. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics propose that consciousness is necessary for the existence of a definite, classical reality. In these views, the universe without conscious observers would exist in a state of pure potential, with all possible outcomes superimposed in a quantum multiverse of unrealized possibilities. The emergence of consciousness would then represent a phase transition in the evolution of the cosmos, transforming a realm of pure possibility into a universe of definite facts and experiences. The anthropic principle observes that the universe appears to be fine-tuned for the existence of conscious life. The physical constants and initial conditions of the cosmos seem to be set within extremely narrow ranges that allow for the formation of stars, planets, and the complex chemistry necessary for life. This apparent fine-tuning might be explained by the multiverse hypothesis, where conscious observers can only exist in universes that happen to have the right properties for their existence. The participatory universe concept suggests that the act of observation literally brings aspects of reality into existence. In this view, the universe is not a collection of objects existing independently of observation, but rather a system of relationships between observers and the observed. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus depend on whether there are observers present to make the necessary distinctions between inside and outside. Information theory provides another lens through which to examine the relationship between consciousness and cosmology. If consciousness is fundamentally about information processing, then the universe might be understood as a vast information processing system with conscious observers serving as nodes in a cosmic network of information flow. The boundaries of the universe might thus be defined by the limits of information, propagation, and processing, rather than by purely physical considerations. The hard problem of consciousness, the question of how subjective experience arises from objective physical processes, remains one of the deepest mysteries in science. Some theories suggest that consciousness might be a fundamental property of reality, present at all scales from the quantum to the cosmic. In this view, the universe itself might possess some form of consciousness or proto-consciousness, raising questions about the nature of cosmic awareness and its relationship to the boundaries of physical existence. The relationship between consciousness and time also bears on questions of cosmic boundaries. Conscious experience seems to create a flowing sense of time, a movement from past through present to future that may not exist in the physical universe itself. If consciousness is necessary for the experience of temporal flow, then the question of what exists outside the universe might be related to the question of what exists outside of time itself. Quantum entanglement reveals that conscious observation can instantaneously affect the states of particles separated by vast distances, suggesting that consciousness might not be bound by the same spatial limitations that constrain physical objects. This non-local nature of consciousness might allow it to transcend the boundaries of the physical universe in ways that matter and energy cannot, opening possibilities for understanding what might exist beyond the edge of space-time. Now, close your eyes and picture consciousness as a gentle light that illuminates the darkness of pure possibility, turning potential into reality with each moment of awareness, perhaps extending beyond the boundaries of space and time into realms where mind and cosmos meet in perfect unity. If this gentle vision of the cosmos soothes the mind, consider resting here more often. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the commensa quiet echo beneath the stars. The eternal and the timeless. Beyond the flowing river of time that carries our universe from its birth toward its ultimate fate, there may exist realms where time itself has no meaning, where the concepts of before and after, beginning and end, dissolve into something more fundamental and eternal. These timeless domains might provide the ultimate context for understanding what exists outside the universe, for they represent states of being that transcend the temporal boundaries that define our cosmic existence. The block universe theory in physics suggests that past, present, and future are equally real, existing as different regions of a four-dimensional space-time continuum. From this perspective, the entire history of the universe, from the Big Bang to its ultimate fate, exists eternally as a complete, unchanging structure. Time becomes a dimension through which consciousness moves, creating the illusion of temporal flow. But the underlying reality is timeless and eternal. In this timeless view, the question of what exists outside the universe takes on new meaning. If our universe exists as a complete eternal structure in four-dimensional space-time, then what lies beyond might be other such structures, other complete histories existing in their own eternal present. The flow of time that we experience might be a local phenomenon, specific to conscious beings embedded within particular temporal trajectories, through the larger, timeless reality. Platonic philosophy has long suggested that the deepest truths exist in a realm of eternal forms, perfect and unchanging templates that give rise to the imperfect copies we experience in the physical world. Modern physics echoes this ancient insight in its description of universal constants and mathematical laws that appear to exist independently of time and space. These eternal principles might provide the true foundation for reality, existing in a realm beyond the temporal boundaries of any particular universe. The mathematical structures that describe physical reality possess a quality of timeless perfection that seems to transcend the material world they describe. The equations of general relativity, quantum mechanics, and the other fundamental theories of physics appear to exist in a realm of pure mathematical truth that is neither created nor destroyed, but simply is. This mathematical reality might represent the ultimate context within which universes come into existence and evolve according to eternal principles. Religious and mystical traditions across cultures have long spoken of an eternal realm that exists beyond the temporal world of change and decay. This timeless dimension is often described as the source from which all temporal existence emerges and to which it ultimately returns. While science and mysticism use different languages, both point toward the possibility that our time-bound universe might be embedded within a larger context that transcends temporal limitations. The concept of eternal recurrence suggests that if the universe is finite and time is infinite, then every possible configuration of matter and energy must repeat infinitely many times. In this view, our current moment, our entire lives, our entire cosmic epoch must recur endlessly in an eternal cycle. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be answered by an infinite repetition of the universe itself, each cycle identical to the last. Quantum mechanics introduces another form of timelessness through the concept of quantum superposition. Before measurement, quantum systems exist in states that embody all possible outcomes simultaneously, existing in a timeless realm of pure possibility. The collapse of the wave function that occurs during measurement might represent a transition from this timeless quantum realm into the temporal world of definite outcomes and causal sequences. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation, which attempts to describe the quantum state of the universe as a whole, contains no time parameter, suggesting that the universe in its totality might exist in a timeless state. Individual observers within the universe would experience temporal flow, but the universe itself would be eternal and unchanging when viewed from the perspective of this deepest level of description. The experience of deep meditation and mystical states often involves a dissolution of temporal awareness, where the practitioner experiences a sense of eternal present that transcends the ordinary flow of time. These states of consciousness might provide glimpses of the timeless realm that exists beyond the boundaries of our temporal universe, offering direct experience of the eternal context within which all temporal existence unfolds. The ocean of pure potential. In the deepest contemplation of what might exist beyond the boundaries of our universe, we encounter the possibility of pure potential itself, an infinite ocean of unmanifest possibility from which all actualized reality emerges. This realm of pure potential represents the ultimate source and context for all existence, the eternal wellspring from which universes arise and to which they ultimately return. The concept of the quantum vacuum reveals that what we call empty space is actually filled with unlimited potential energy. Virtual particles constantly appear and disappear in the vacuum, borrowing energy from the underlying field of possibilities before returning it in accordance with the uncertainty principle. This quantum vacuum might represent just the surface of a much deeper ocean of potential that extends infinitely beyond the boundaries of our universe. Ancient philosophical traditions have long spoken of an ultimate reality that exists beyond all manifestation, a source that is simultaneously nothing and everything, empty and full, containing all possibilities while being none of them in particular. This understanding resonates with modern physics' description of the quantum vacuum and the field theories that describe fundamental forces as excitations in underlying fields of potential. The mathematical framework of quantum field theory suggests that particles and forces are not fundamental entities, but rather excitations in underlying fields that permeate all of space. These fields represent states of potential that can be actualized through various processes, creating the particles and interactions that we observe. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be answered by an infinite extension of these fields of potential, unlimited by the boundaries that define our particular cosmic domain. Information theory provides another perspective on the nature of pure potential. If reality is fundamentally informational, then the realm beyond the universe might be understood as pure information potential, an infinite library of all possible patterns and structures that could exist. Our universe would then represent one particular actualization of this information potential, one specific pattern drawn from the infinite sea of possibilities. The concept of the absolute in various mystical traditions refers to a reality that transcends all distinctions and categories, existing beyond the duality of existence and non-existence, being and non-being. This absolute is often described as the source from which all relative existence emerges and the ultimate destination to which it returns. The boundaries of our universe might thus be understood as the interface between the relative world of space-time and the absolute realm of pure potential. Creativity in all its forms, artistic, scientific, and spiritual, seems to involve access to a realm of potential that extends beyond the boundaries of current reality. The moment of inspiration, when something genuinely new emerges into awareness, suggests contact with a source of possibilities that transcends the limitations of existing knowledge and experience. This creative potential might represent our deepest connection to the infinite realm that exists beyond the universe. The process of evolution itself, both biological and cosmic, demonstrates the continuous actualization of potential into new forms of reality. From the simple hydrogen and helium of the early universe, countless new forms of matter and energy have emerged through the creative processes of stellar nucleosynthesis, planetary formation, and biological evolution. This ongoing creativity suggests that the universe exists within a larger context of infinite creative potential. The observer effect in quantum mechanics reveals that the act of observation plays a crucial role in determining which possibilities become actualized. This suggests that consciousness itself might be the interface between the realm of pure potential and the world of actualized reality. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be intimately connected to the nature of consciousness and its relationship to the infinite field of possibilities. Dreams and the unconscious mind provide another window into the realm of pure potential. In dreams, the ordinary boundaries of space, time, and causality are transcended, allowing for experiences that seem to draw from an unlimited source of creative possibilities. The unconscious mind might thus represent our deepest connection to the infinite potential that exists beyond the boundaries of our conscious, rational understanding of reality. The contemplation of pure potential brings a sense of profound peace and infinite possibility. In recognizing that our universe, vast as it is, might be just one actualization of unlimited potential, we find both humility and wonder. The boundaries of our cosmic domain become not limitations, but invitations to contemplate the infinite creativity that might exist beyond all boundaries. The paradox of nothingness. In the deepest inquiry into what might exist beyond the edge of the universe, we encounter the profound paradox of nothingness, a concept that simultaneously represents the absence of everything and the presence of infinite potential. This paradox has puzzled philosophers and scientists for millennia, and it offers perhaps the most profound perspective on the question of what lies beyond the boundaries of all existence. True nothingness, if it could exist, would be the absence of space, time, matter, energy, and even the laws of physics themselves. It would be a state of absolute non-existence, containing no properties, no potential, no possibility of anything arising from it. Yet the very attempt to conceive of such absolute nothingness reveals its paradoxical nature. For to speak of nothing is to make it something, to give it properties and characteristics that would seem to contradict its essential nature. The philosophical tradition has long grappled with this paradox. Ancient thinkers, like Parmenides, argued that nothingness cannot exist because it would be impossible to think about or refer to something that has no being whatsoever. Modern philosophy continues to wrestle with these questions, exploring whether nothingness is a meaningful concept or whether it represents a fundamental limitation of human thought and language. Quantum mechanics adds new dimensions to this paradox. The quantum vacuum, often described as the closest thing to nothingness in physics, is actually filled with zero-point energy and virtual particles. Even in the absence of matter and radiation, quantum fields continue to fluctuate, creating and annihilating virtual particles in a ceaseless dance of potential energy. This suggests that absolute nothingness might be physically impossible that the laws of quantum mechanics themselves prevent the existence of true emptiness. The concept of the quantum vacuum state reveals that what we call empty space is actually the lowest energy state of the quantum fields that permeate all of reality. This vacuum state contains infinite potential energy, ready to be actualized through various processes. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be answered not by absolute nothingness, but by the eternal presence of quantum fields in their ground state, containing unlimited potential for the creation of new universes and new forms of existence. Religious and mystical traditions offer another perspective on the paradox of nothingness. Many speak of an ultimate reality that is simultaneously described as nothing and everything, empty and full, absent and present. This apparent contradiction points to the limitations of ordinary language and thought when attempting to describe the deepest truths of existence. The void spoken of in these traditions is not the absence of everything, but rather the presence of that which transcends all categories and distinctions. The mathematical concept of zero provides an analogy for understanding the paradox of nothingness. Zero is simultaneously the absence of quantity and a fundamental number in its own right. It serves as the reference point from which all other numbers are measured, the null element that makes arithmetic possible. Similarly, the nothingness that might exist beyond the universe could be understood not as the absence of existence, but as the reference point from which all existence is measured. The process of creation itself seems to involve the emergence of something from nothing. Yet this apparent contradiction dissolves when we understand that the nothing from which something emerges is not absolute nothingness, but rather the fullness of potential. The Big Bang did not create the universe from absolute nothingness, but rather from a state of infinite potential energy and information that existed before the emergence of space and time. The Eastern philosophical concept of shunyata, often translated as emptiness or voidness, points to the interdependent nature of all existence. Nothing exists independently or has inherent existence. Everything arises through relationships and connections with everything else. This understanding suggests that the nothingness beyond the universe might not be absolute absence, but rather the recognition that all existence is interconnected and interdependent. The contemplation of nothingness brings a profound sense of peace and freedom. In recognizing that even absolute nothingness is paradoxical and ultimately incomprehensible, we find liberation from the need to grasp and possess reality. The boundaries of our universe become not barriers, but invitations to rest in the mystery of existence itself, to find peace in the recognition that the deepest truths transcend all understanding. Now, close your eyes and rest in the profound mystery of existence and non-existence, feeling the peace that comes from recognizing that even nothingness is beyond our complete understanding, letting go of the need to grasp what lies beyond all boundaries. If this gentle vision of the cosmos soothes the mind, consider resting here more often. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments, a quiet echo beneath the stars. The infinite recursion of existence. In the final contemplation of what might exist beyond the edge of the universe, we encounter the possibility of infinite recursion, the idea that reality might be structured as an endless series of nested levels, each containing universes within universes, each level of existence embedded within larger structures that themselves exist within even grander contexts. This vision of infinite recursion offers a perspective on cosmic boundaries that transcends the simple question of what lies beyond, suggesting instead that the very concept of beyond might be infinitely recursive. The fractal nature of many natural phenomena provides a hint of how such infinite recursion might operate. From the branching patterns of rivers and blood vessels to the structure of coastlines and mountain ranges, nature often displays self-similar patterns that repeat at different scales. If this principle applies to the deepest structure of reality, then our universe might be just one level in an infinite hierarchy of nested cosmic structures, each level containing smaller universes and itself contained within larger ones. The holographic principle in physics suggests that the information content of any volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. This principle implies that our three-dimensional universe might be a projection of information stored on a two-dimensional surface, which itself might be a projection of information from an even higher dimensional space. This recursive structure could continue infinitely, with each level of reality being a projection of information from the level above it. Mathematical set theory reveals the possibility of infinite recursive structures through concepts like the power set and ordinal numbers. Just as the set of all subsets of a given set is always larger than the original set, the structures that contain our universe might themselves be contained within even larger structures, creating an infinite hierarchy of cosmic embedding. The question of what exists outside the universe might thus be answered by an infinite sequence of larger and larger containing structures. The concept of simulated universes introduces another form of infinite recursion. If our universe is a simulation running on some vast computer, then the reality that contains that computer might itself be a simulation running on an even larger computer. This recursive structure could continue infinitely, with each level of simulated reality believing itself to be the fundamental level while actually being embedded within countless layers of simulation. Consciousness itself might be structured recursively, with different levels of awareness embedded within larger contexts of cosmic consciousness. Individual human consciousness might be nested within collective consciousness, which might be nested within planetary consciousness, which might be nested within galactic consciousness, and so on infinitely. The boundaries of our individual awareness might thus be just one level in an infinite hierarchy of conscious experience. The process of scientific discovery reveals a recursive structure where each answer leads to deeper questions. Each theory requires a larger context for its understanding, and each level of explanation points toward even more fundamental levels. This infinite regress of explanation might reflect the actual structure of reality, where each level of existence requires a deeper level for its foundation, creating an infinite regression of cosmic embedding. Religious and mystical traditions often speak of levels of reality, from the physical through the mental and spiritual to the divine. These levels are typically understood as being nested within each other, with each higher level containing and transcending the lower levels. The ultimate reality in these traditions is often described as containing all levels, while itself being contained by nothing, representing the infinite ground of all recursive existence. The concept of strange loops in mathematics and computer science describes systems that contain themselves through recursive self-reference. The universe might be such a strange loop, containing within itself the very processes that created it, existing in a state of infinite self-reference. that transcends the simple question of what lies beyond its boundaries. In this view, the universe might be both container and contained, simultaneously existing within itself and beyond itself. The contemplation of infinite recursion brings a profound sense of endless mystery and boundless possibility. In recognizing that every answer might lead to deeper questions, every boundary to larger contexts, we find both humility and wonder. The universe becomes not a finite container, but an infinite process of recursive self-discovery. Each level of existence, a doorway to deeper levels of mystery and meaning. Time itself might be structured recursively, with each moment containing infinite sub-moments, each era embedded within larger cycles of cosmic time. The history of our universe might be just one chapter in an infinite book of cosmic history, each chapter containing countless subchapters, each subchapter containing countless smaller stories, all the way down to the present moment and all the way up to infinite scales of temporal embedding. The experience of recursive existence brings a sense of infinite depth and meaning to every moment. In recognizing that our small individual existence might be nested within cosmic structures of unimaginable grandeur, we find both our proper place in the cosmic order and our infinite significance within the recursive structure of existence. Every thought, every breath, every moment of awareness becomes a window into the infinite depth of recursive reality.